So you're up for some lamb this time. You've got some great lamb and you don't know what to do with it, do you? I've got the recipe. Let me show you what you need for this one. Obviously, I've got this beautiful Colorado dry-aged lamb, little pear tomatoes and some olive oil, capers, fresh thyme, some Niçoise olives that I've pitted because you don't want to play around with that pit. Little chopped garlic, some chopped shallots, lemon juice. We're gonna have a little acidity in there, kosher salt, and our fresh ground white pepper. I'm gonna season these guys, get them in the pan, and away we go. Salt, a little pepper. Want to do the other side. Got a little bit of grapeseed oil. Gonna get in that pan, get it nice and hot. We want that heat. We want to sear. Once again, you want a nice sear on these guys. Let it get almost, you can see where it starts to look like it's kind of breaking down. You're gonna get the first little hint of smoke. Then we're gonna get them in there. And then we may have to drop it down a tiny bit. It's a little bit big. Pan's a little bit big for 2 chops, but I wanted you to be able to see them, and I didn't want to crowd the pan. I'm always barking about crowding the pan. That wonderful noise that you want to hear when it goes in the pan. And if you can leave it there, that's the goal. And as you can see, I've left all this beautiful meat alongside of the bones. You can French them, which doesn't mean you're using your tongue. It just means you can usually cut along that bone and get rid of all that meat along the bone. It's got this pretty little perfect bone on there, but I'm thinking, you know what? Why throw away all that incredible meat? You can use it in the stocks or sauce if you really want to, but I tell you, there's nothing better than chewing on that little bone, the little meat that's along the side of there, and it's all good. All we're doing is lifting the side of the pan. We're gonna let that oil get around. If you can render out any of that fat, it's good, but I tell you, I cut off the least amount of fat as possible. You can see that little line of fat there. Lamb fat, honestly, it doesn't get any better. People are worried about all the fat and all these things. I'm worried more about the processed food that you're eating than the fat in my lamb chop. That's where all the flavor's coming from. See if we can sear that guy. You can see that? Not long at all. We got a nice sear on him. Gonna flip him over, see if we can get that side also. I'm gonna turn it down a little bit, getting a little bit hot there. And once you get that first initial sear, you can just flip them, let it wander around, a little bit around the outside like that. If you can get the other side seared like that, you're in pretty good shape. We're gonna pop these guys in the oven for just a couple minutes, because I want my lamb nice medium rare to medium. See if we can get just a tiny bit on that underside. Because you don't want any of those juices leaching out the side, trying to sneak out that we don't want them to. It's too bad you can't smell that, because lamb's fat, I tell you. That's where all the love is. We're going to pull these guys out, and I'm going to pop them in the oven literally just for a couple minutes at 1 second. Pop that in the oven, and we're going to get rid of that fat. Then we're going to toss in a little virgin olive oil, which is basically going to be a part of the sauce. It's almost a vinaigrette, if you will. We're going to heat up that olive oil. And like, we don't want to get it too hot. We just want to get it hot enough to get a tiny sear on those tomatoes. We're going to let them sit. We don't want to shake them around. Remember our emeralditis. Stay away from that stuff. Don't shake it around. Leave them pan. Let them stick to the bottom. Everybody gets seasoned separately. A little salt and pepper. And there's nothing like a seared tomato. If you can get a nice sear, at least on one side, you watch and see what that's going to taste like. All the good stuff. And once again, this Colorado dry-aged lamb, American product. Everything I use as much as possible, unless it's some crazy, wacky stuff I can get from France. All about getting the best possible product. And you can talk about New Zealand lamb or Australian lamb, any other lamb you want, but you can get this dry-aged lamb. I tell you, it's the real stuff. Just a tiny sear on those guys. We don't want to cook them too much. We don't want to turn them into mush. We're going to get some shallots in there. We don't want to brown those either. We don't want it to get bitter. We're just going to give them a little toss. It's almost like a hot vinaigrette, if you will. A little bit of garlic. Same thing. We don't want to brown that garlic. We just want to lightly just sear it, let it get in there, and give some love and make it sexy. A little bit of fresh thyme. You want to get that in the pan, let it heat up. Our olives are going to go in. We got to be careful with the salt, because these olives are going to bring in a pack of salt, and our capers are also going to bring salt. So you can see we didn't add much salt to that dish, because these guys are definitely going to help out. A little bit of sear, a little bit of heat on all that together, and not too cooked, not overcooked, not mushy tomatoes. Beautiful stuff, and not too much heat either. Nothing brown. We didn't brown our shallots or garlic, so it's not going to get bitter. Let me get my lamb from the oven. All right, these guys are out of the oven, and man, they're looking good too. Look at that. Tiny bit, last little touch. We're going to squeeze our lemon in there. Make sure we don't get any seeds. Up. It's going to deglaze whatever is left in the bottom of that pan, if there is anything left. Usually we should have gotten it out with the tomatoes. What else we got? We didn't forget anything. We're ready to go. This, a little bit of olive oil just at the last second, just for a little bit of a vinaigrette sort of flavor. Another toss. You want to get that lemon juice down below. Scoop that out on top. Oh man, it's too bad you can't smell these. Olives are filling up the room here. Dry aged Colorado lamb, little fresh tomatoes, caper, thyme, olive oil. Et voila, the sexiest lamb chops you'll ever try. Bon appetit.